Let's make these amazing homemade breadsticks. Oh, yum. Hey y'all, let's make the first bread of the new year together. We're gonna make some homemade breadsticks to have with our dinner tonight. So the first thing I'm gonna need is a pack of active dry yeast. I am going to need a tablespoon, make that 2 tablespoons of sugar, a little bit of salt, and some bread flour, and about 1.5 cups of very warm tap water, not boiling, not overly hot, but just nice warm tap water. So let's get that started. Okay, I've got my sugar in. I'm gonna add my yeast to my sugar, and then we're gonna add in the hot water. So, okay, I've added my water. I'm just gonna stir this a little bit to let it mix together, and then we're gonna set it aside and let it proof for just a few minutes. Shouldn't take too long. While our yeast is proofing, let's go ahead and get our bread flour out. I'm going to put a couple of cups of bread flour in here and about a teaspoon of salt. Right, let's add our salt. We're going to wait for that yeast to proof. So when it's proofing, because it's going to do what they call bloom, it's going to come up. I don't know if you guys can see. Can you see that? It's going to come up and little, almost looks like flowers. But we're going to let that continue to do that for just a few more minutes. So it's going to let that bloom and let it proof for just a few minutes. Now that we've let our yeast proof, we can add it to our flour and salt mixture. So let's just add that in and give it a good stir. All right. And we're just going to stir this all up together. It will take about 3 to 4 cups of bread flour, but I like to start with 2 to give it an easy mix just to begin with. And of course, we will roll it out as well, and that's going to take a little bit of flour. So all together about 3 to 4 cups. But let's just continue to mix this up together. Okay, now that we have our dough all mixed together, I am going to get some olive oil and put a couple of teaspoons into a clean bowl. And then we are going to put our dough ball into this bowl with this olive oil, and we are going to let it rise. So get that all in there. I'm going to give it a little spin. I'm going to turn it over and give it a little spin because we want that olive oil to coat all of our bread. Now we're going to cover this and let it rise. Okay, I've got my bowl covered with plastic. We're just going to pull it tight all the way around. Okay, we've just used regular plastic wrap. And now I am going to cover it with my Turkish tea towel that I got for Christmas. And we are going to let that bread rise for about 30 minutes. Bread has almost had enough time to proof, so let's go ahead and get a cup of bread flour out on our board, and let's get ready to knead the dough. We just got a couple more minutes, so by the time we get this set to the side, it'll be time to get that dough out. Take a peek at it. Let's see if it has. Oh, yes, it has. It has really puffed up. Great. All right, so I'm going to set my towel to the side, and then we're going to pull this right out, and we are going to start kneading that dough. Just put it right there on our flour. To sprinkle the top of it with our bread flour. Okay, and then we're going to put our fist right through the middle of it, okay, to get part of that air out. Now we want to knead our bread for about 5 minutes. Now that we have kneaded our dough, now we are going to slice it up for our breadsticks. Okay, I'm just going to use a pizza cutter. I'm going to cut it in half each direction. And then I am just going to make small slices about 1 inch wide all the way across it. Okay. And then we are going to put this in a pan and let it rise again. We are going to make sure that we put a little olive oil in and spread it around our pan so that our bread does not stick. Now that we have all of our breadsticks in our pan, we want to cover this with plastic wrap and our towel and let it rise for about another 30 minutes. Okay, now we've got our breadsticks covered with plastic wrap. We need to let those rise for about 30 minutes covered, and then we'll check back on them. All right, we'll let them rise. Our breadsticks are almost finished rising. We want to set our heat to 400 degrees on our stove, and we're going to cook these for about 10 minutes. So let's get those in the oven. While our breadsticks are cooking, we're going to get a couple of heaping tablespoons of butter. We're going to add some Italian seasoning and some Parmesan cheese, and we are going to get ready to coat our breadsticks with this yummy mixture. So we want probably a couple of teaspoons of Italian seasoning, and then we can add in a little bit of garlic powder as well. That would be yummy. Maybe a teaspoon or so of garlic powder. A little bit more. We like garlic. And then we're going to add in our Parmesan cheese. Okay, now we're going to add our Parmesan cheese, a couple of tablespoons of Parmesan cheese. Okay, now we're going to melt this all together, and we're going to get ready to paint our breadsticks with it.